So, so thank you all for coming to my speech. So I guess we'll have a great time together. I hope so, and I hope it will be interesting. So yeah, as it was already mentioned, I'm like a co-founder of an independent audio agency, VP Production, and since we're a really small indie team, I'm also a brand manager and art director, meaning that I'm coming from a marketing background, and in our work we combine marketing practices with audio creation, and that's what I do on projects basically. And we will get to that in a minute. And yeah, and also I manage our company's brand. And yeah, we're gonna discuss some things today, which are post-apocalypse, mutant animals, and garbage zombies. And to me, that sounds quite fun. I hope it will to you as well. And we're gonna talk about an indie game, Trash is Fun, obviously, who was developed, it was developed by a group of Ukrainian teens from the city of Sumy. And it is an eco-awareness, eco-friendly project about sorting garbage and trying to save the world. And so the story is that due to global warming, all the ices melt, and the virus actually got free, and so all the animals became a mutant, very intelligent ones, and they decided they have to save the world because people being not so reliable on, they just went missing, and so the animals took all the matters in their paws, I guess, not hands. And so, yeah, this was developed by Martin Teapot Studio, and we actually learned about this game through a crowdfunding campaign. And those kids, they were fundraising to create a soundtrack. And I thought, wow, cool, we're gonna make it for free for them because, those projects you have to support sometimes because they could get all the money they crowdfunded, and they could use it to reinvest in the project and to make it even better. And we were open for this kind of pro bono situation and all this stuff, and so we decided to hop on the project and help them. And it was fine by them obviously, but it was fine by us as well. And so the first question we got, so how this whole bizarre post-apocalypse fun stuff should sound? And that what we was about to find out. And the stage one actually is always to start with a quiet briefing, and a very in-depth one, really thorough one, because you want to know not only the game story, visuals, characters, so how does it look, what happens there, but you also want to know which target audience or audiences there are in the project, because you really want to target them with each and every asset you have in your game, so to make it a successful product. And you always have to learn about the key promise of the game, and what emotions, what associations developers want to create within the audience head. And also you have to learn about direct and indirect competitors to find out how you can differentiate for them. So which are the points of differentiation of the game. And that's what we did. And we started this were an early, it wasn't early, I guess it was already on the midst of development when we came to the project. So these were arts that we started working from. They changed a bit to the end of the game, but you see it's really cartoonish ones, low poly ones, with this, they're kind of vivid colors. Hi, you can join us. So yeah, and but still that there is this feeling of emptiness to them, like this post-apocalypse stuff and all this. So yeah, and while talking to the team, we learned that this game is basically about teamwork, because this is a cooperative game, and but also it is about lots of micromanagement and lots of butthurt, because you can do it at all, and there are garbage zombies all over the place, but they're kind of cute, you know, so it's not, you know, those scary zombies you get usually. There is a lot of insanity, a lot of bizarre stuff. Yeah, and but there is also hope for the better, because like those animals are doing the best they can to save our world, and this is also like this contrast like between the fun and the post-apocalypse feel. Sorry, it was really interesting to explore like in a creative way. And also the key promise of the game, we loved it so much because it was like a non-serious game in the niche of serious games, and it was also an educational game in the niche of like entertainment games. So it was a great thing to also explore during our creative process. And it was the best time to start competitor analysis and defining like audio cliches of the niche, and this is my part of the work. And yeah, we mostly I analyzed all those titles which are like obviously overcooked, like the both parts, because they kind of set the bar high for this whole cooperative genre. You have also overcooked lookalikes like at astronauts. You also have Moving Out, which also made some quite a few buzz about it, and Fox, which I liked a lot. And also you get those a little bit different titles, but they had a really great vibe to it. But It Takes Two, obviously, a smashing hit. And Knights and Bikes, my personal favorite. We're going to talk about this in a second. Don't Starve Together and Trash Sailors, which is also an indie game who was, it was coming out almost at the same time that we started to work on this project. And we actually learned about it through the Indie Cup, yeah. So, yeah, and turns out, most of those titles, small, big ones, doesn't matter, almost all of them have some troubles with soundtrack distribution. They're like, you can, sometimes I couldn't find like the soundtrack on like streaming platforms or even on YouTube. There were like, you know, fun uploads, you know, from players, but there weren't like official uploads of the soundtrack. And actually, audience doesn't like it at all, because they want to have this opportunity to listen to the music from the game that they like. And when they don't get the chance, they become kind of furious. And yeah, and I read like lots of, you know, angry posts on this. And also, like the primary audio cliche of the niche of cooperative games is banjo. Banjo is in each and every soundtrack almost. And I was like, okay, I guess banjo is fun and everyone is adding it for a fun vibe, you know? So, yep. And also, the music itself is almost always is just for fun. Is just for, you know, to describe the setting, you know, when you get like a Japanese setting, you have a Japanese instruments playing. When you have a sea level, you have a sea shanty, you know, and all this stuff. And so it's pretty, you know, easy to guess what will be playing at certain level. It's not that interesting, actually. And any, you know, non-banal solutions, they cause like massive waves of excitement among the audience, because they just don't know better, you know. And so when there is like an interesting idea or a concept, audience is like praising it. So yeah, and some competitors actually already use their music to promote their games, and I was so happy to see this. And this is where we come to Knights and Bikes title. It's my personal favorite in terms of approach to creating music and to use music actually outside the project to promote it. So what those guys did, they also started a crowdfunding campaign to enlist Daniel Pemberton as their composer. And if you don't know who Daniel Pemberton is, he worked on, like, it's film, mostly film composer, who worked on such titles as Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or Guy Ritchie's film about the King Arthur, like the King Arthur and the Legend of Sword, I believe. And so they got him to work on the title, and he created the most beautiful soundtrack for a cooperative game, which combined like various elements, like the cinematic feel to it, like obviously as well, but he created a title song for this game, and the title song was a 9 years old girl screaming to a punk rock music, and she was screaming like, "I wanna ride my bike, I wanna ride my bike," and everyone just went nuts about it, you know? Everyone was like, "I need to play this game, I need to know what's happening in there to this music." And actually, this is how you get your potential audience to play your game. If like through music you can do this like easily. I had quite a few speeches on this, so I'm not gonna talk about this right now, but this is like, you know, the evidence that this works. And yeah, after like analyzing competitors, I also systemized some data I got like alongside when I was analyzing competitors. Sorry, I'm gonna grab some water. Sorry, just a second. You can talk about something if you want. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, that's not new to the industry, you know, but sometimes like not all, like as you saw, like even big titles just don't put their music out there, which is a wasted chance, you know, wasted opportunity. So yeah, to the audience insights that I gathered along the way. People compare almost all cooperative games that like at least decently remind the Overcooked. They compare all of them to Overcooked. Like it's never to the favor of the game they're comparing. The like Overcooked is always better, you know. So, and they like people also say that those games are a great opportunity to ruin your relationship with everyone, like your family, your friends. It's like Monopoly, you know, everyone is just fighting and all this stuff. And they also complain that cooperative games always, like not always, usually lack of profoundness, that there is no enough story and all this stuff, and they want to get some, you know, deep to them. And they also, like, this is an obvious one, but yeah, cooperative games are great for parties and get together. But the thing in this is that, you know, there are various levels of gamers. There are pro gamers, there are like casual gamers, there are Facebook gamers, as we discussed today. And those cooperative games, they are a great opportunity to gather all those kinds of gamers around one game and spend some time with some quality time together. So yeah. And yeah, after we got all that information, it was a time for us to move on and create an audio concept for this game, and also audio mood board. And so we started with like creating a list of no-nos. So the banjo, no banjo. Like it was like a hard pass for us. And yeah, also we said no to cliche music for, you know, typical settings, like I mentioned already, like sea shanty music for sea levels, or like Japanese instruments for Japanese levels and all this stuff. And yeah, we also thought that we will distance ourselves from too childish arrangement, too childish sound, that we will go for something more like complicated. Yeah, and why we decided to go more complicated, because of the butt hurt I mentioned earlier, because the developers were like, go ahead, do not soothe our players, go ahead and make them even more angry when they're playing, you know, make them even more nervous. And we were like, okay, we see you. We can do that. And we decided to still, if we said no to childish arrangements, we decided to use some childish instruments, you know, like toy piano, like xylophone, like something like this, to still give this feeling that those animals are actually kids and the game is created by teenagers, and we still wanted to give that feel to it, to not to make it too serious. And this is also the reason why we went for toyish orchestral elements. So not your full-blown epic orchestra music, but, you know, some like more tuned down, you know, orchestral elements. And we also went for human percussion, which being actually snaps and claps and like with your feet stamps, you know. And we went for lots of textures because there is this empty feel to the world, to this plant, and we decided to give like lots of textures to make it more alive. And this is like the plant is also the reason why we went for industrial elements, you know, to give this feeling of machinery and all this stuff. And yeah, fast tempo was a must because, but heard. And we went for craziness, for some bizarre off-tone sounds. We went for, you know, this contrast between fun and epic. So you have some like some complicated moves, but then you have some toy piano playing. So yeah, and we went for obviously rock elements because this is the vibe we're trying to give. And yeah, electronic pads, electronic bass, as well as live bass to give this also this feeling of like of liveliness to it. And yeah, and the alarm sound, actually we started this project before the invasion started, and so back then the alarm sound was like nothing to us, but we incorporated alarm sound into the soundtrack because it is the crucial part of the gameplay, because when the alarm goes off, the zombies started to float, and so it was important thing to highlight in the soundtrack as well. But actually, it was in each track, like skipping ahead, like a spoiler alert, but we added like alarm sound to each and every track for the game. But when we released it across all the platforms, streaming platforms, we actually removed it to not trigger people, like when listening to this music, like apart from the game. We like, I guess it's still just on the main theme. Yeah. And then it was time for audio mood boards. Basically, audio mood boards is a listening party with developers to which we bring a playlist of music from different like games, films, animation films, etc. And to actually describe all those ideas we had. So developers could, understand in which direction we were going, or which were our ideas. So yeah, and then you listen to those excerpts of music with developers, and then you end up with positive and negative references to kind of give you a frame within which you can create like a future soundtrack. And so after listening party, we got our positive reference, which were mainly like Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. It was like the most, inspirational soundtrack for us because of that bizarre feel to it, because of the craziness on it, those off-tone notes, those riffs. It was perfect to like for an inspiration. And then we had The Greatest Showman, actually, to get this feel of the teamwork, of the spirit of uniting people's animals together. We got the Marvel's Daredevil to give this kind of doomed feeling to it, like, this post-apocalypse, like the world isn't on fire anymore, but there are still some fires like around. So yeah, and we also went for the Willoughbys, which is a great animated film, by the way, with a great composer on it. And we went for it as our guide to the level of cinematic sound in our soundtrack, because, for example, in our negative references, we got Meeting the Robinsons, and this was our negative reference for too much of cinematic feel to it. So yeah, we got too much cinematic feel to it, and like this is the right amount of cinematic sound. We also, Fall Guys didn't make it to our positive references because of this synthesized feel to it, and it was super fast. So we were like, okay, we're going fast tempo, but not that fast enough, like Fall Guys. And also Wreck-It Ralph didn't make it as well because it had this feeling like some kind of exploration, like a detective even vibe, something like this. And we were like, no, we're like an action game, so we won't go for this feel. And yeah, it was the time to create some demos for our main theme. And the thing is that we usually create few demos for developers to choose which one fits the best, like the game. And actually in audio branding projects, because we do those as well, this is the time for the first testing, because what you want to do, you want to like grab those demos and go to your target audience and like test it and see which one performs better, so you can actually create something that will be a great fit to your audience. But in this case, sorry, we didn't test the demos because like there wasn't enough like resource to it, but we gave them to the team, and they had also their like a small trusted audience to ask questions, so they decided like that. And yeah, we're gonna guess which one won eventually. So now you get to listen some music and I get to drink water. So that was an excerpt of the first one, and this. So yeah, which one? Yeah, obviously that was too easy, but but yeah, the second one won, and now you get to listen to it. So here you have it. And yeah, after all, everything you heard before, like what I was talking about. So how do you feel about it? Yeah, Yeah, you know, this kind of mystery feel. Yeah, yeah. I adore the soundtrack for Mr. Falls. It's great. And yeah, and now we released it obviously across all streaming platforms, and as I mentioned, we we actually erased those alarm sound not to trigger people. So if you want, you can scan the code and you can check it out. And yeah, so we created the main theme, the one which we like listen to, and we also created 5 gameplay themes, each of them like respectively was for each and every setting. And for the Sea of Japan, we didn't go for neither for the sea shanty nor for Japanese instruments. And actually, the main challenge of this project was that each level has those separate sections, like one when you just sort out your garbage, and the second one is like a zombie attack. So you have to respect those like differences between those sections, and they like they all have fixed time of 30 seconds. So we had to consider this when creating soundtracks. And we went for this, you know, pop style kind of structure of arrangement with like a verse and chorus, and all this stuff. And then you have a bridge, and then you have a chorus once again. And yeah, and actually, I believe the last 2 ones, those levels were like 5 minutes long, and we went for 5-minute tracks for them. And it was kind of like an adventure to create those, but it was fun. And now to the sad part of all this story. And I hope I won't cry on this because I feel I'm kind of moody today. And yeah, although we did this amazing job and the team did an amazing job for this, but as I mentioned, they're from Sumy, which is on the north of Ukraine, and their city was the first one under attack. And that, like, obviously it affected them a lot because there weren't like armed forces in that city at the time, and there was also like only territorial defense in there. And that's why like families of those kids went to protect the city, and some kids like were wounded because of the exploding windows and all this stuff. And many many team members fled the country because they're teens. They could go to other countries. And that's why even though they did this amazing job, and they, even after the invasion started, they were working on the game while the bombs were flying, and they managed to finish the project, and it went well, but yet they just didn't have, mental resources to promote it, to do the marketing part, to reach out to media, to do those things. And this is kind of sad because, there are so many teenagers around the world, and I just don't know why those fans had to go through this. So, but still, I won't leave you on this teary note, because that's me. And we took the matter in our own hands, just like the animals in the game took theirs in their paws. And we, through our soundtrack release, we got to reach out to quite a few sources. We reach out to one of the game dev podcast, which you have right in there. So they talked about the game. And we also had one of two Ukrainian bloggers, game dev bloggers, talking about the game as well. The one, he did this on Twitter. The other one, she did a whole section in her video dedicated to the game and to the soundtrack and to the creative process. And then we went on one of the biggest media platforms, in Ukraine, which is Game Dev Doll, and we did an article there as well, talking about this game and its soundtrack and how it all get together. And we also our friends from PlayUA, which is also a big Ukrainian media on pop culture topics. they were like the most supportive ever. We did 2 articles with them, and we also appeared on their podcast. We played the game on live stream on Twitch and YouTube, and we discussed the soundtrack. So we were still able, even though the team couldn't do this, through the soundtrack, from music, we were able to gain some audience for the game, to get them some visibility out there. It wasn't, the same amount that they were expected, but it was at least something. And we got some reviews, and yeah, there weren't as much, because on projects with bigger audiences, we get much more reviews about our music and stuff. But here you have like a QR code which will lead you to the Steam page of this game, and you can give it a go. You can recommend it to someone. And yep, that's it. And I thank you for, genuinely thank you for being here this early. And if you want to get more info on our agency or contact us, you have this small, tiny QR code in there. And yeah, thank you. Yeah. The difficult part, like the active phase of work, I guess it was like 2 to 3 months, I believe. But given the invasion, and given that we had other commercial projects going on at the time that we did this one, we worked almost 8 months on this, because they were still, creating levels alongside as we were creating soundtrack for the earlier levels. So yeah, it was kind of extended in the time, but it was okay, because to create that amount of music in such a short term, it would be kind of difficult mentally for my partner and all this stuff. Yeah, but it was fun. And actually the two last soundtracks, gameplay themes, we created already after the invasion started. I guess we went back to work at April, and we finished it in summer, and we released the soundtrack in August, I believe. Yep. Thank you.